Live on a Monday morning in Rocky River, Ohio, it is time for the ultimate Cleveland Guardians show. There's rain today, Zach. My team has a Little League playoff game tonight. Everybody's stressed out about whether that game's going to be played tonight. We've got our ace on the mound trying to pull an upset and get to the second round of the playoffs. Are you excited about that more than the Guardians?
I'm perfectly fine if you want to spend the next 30-plus minutes analyzing your Little League team's prospects of winning.
You know, I'm feeling really good about it. Let's talk about it for a minute before we move on and talk about this dreadful Guardians team. We have 11 guys on the team. 2 are not going to be there. So we have 9, so nobody will be DHing. Everybody's playing the same position the whole game. Well, hopefully my pitcher is playing the same position the whole game. We did finish in last place out of 7 teams in the regular season. So we play the 2 seed in the first round of the playoffs. However, the best pitcher on my team is probably the best pitcher in the league. Now, he hasn't pitched a ton because he also plays travel ball. And so there have been a lot of times I haven't been able to pitch him.
So you've been sandbagging.
We've been sandbagging a little bit. So I'm feeling good about him getting the game 1 playoff start tonight. I'm feeling good about our lineup because we got a couple of we had a couple kids that were struggling early that are hitting now. So I feel like I'm feeling pretty good right now. I think we can pull the upset over. It'd be a big win for Danny Boys over Rocky River Brewing Company, a battle of restaurants.
Also, shout out to Rocky River Brewing Company. I know they had the fire last week.
And the owner of the restaurant, I've never met him personally, but everybody tells me the guy's the greatest guy. He's very big in the community here in Rocky River. It's a shame what happened. Fortunately, the whole place, I haven't been inside, but fortunately the whole place was not completely destroyed, and hopefully they'll be back sooner rather than later. It's a great place. Everybody loves going there. So yes, good job out of you.
So as you're struggling through the regular season, were you saying things, I know you get interviewed all the time as the coach of this team, and you had a whole segment on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. So were you trying to voice that you believe in these guys and it's a talented team and you got to stay the course? And
I was,
you weren't. What you were showing on the field, that's not who you were. That's
true.
That's not the team you were.
I refused to call any. I had opportunities to call up guys from the minors. I refused to do it. I stuck with my team.
And look at you now.
Look at us now, getting ready for the playoffs. All right, lot to get to with the Guardians. It's the ultimate Cleveland Guardians show coming up next. Zach, the Guardians just had a miserable week at home. They lose 2 out of 3 to Toronto. They get swept by the Cardinals. Even the one day they did score, when they scored, they have a 6-run inning. They still lose that game. And all I heard in the last week was Stephen Vogt on MLB radio, Chris Antonetti talking to the media. Yesterday, Mike Chernoff went on the front office show on MLB radio on Sunday. And they all have the same company line. It's like it doesn't matter what our eyes tell us. It's irrelevant. Like, they talk about this lineup as if it's a bunch of proven hitters that are just in a slump right now, and that we've just all got to be patient. And it's crazy to me that that's the case. If that were the case, I think we'd all be more patient. But it is, in fact, not the case. And for the most part, all the guys that are struggling have had little or no sustained success, and there's no reason to believe that that a whole bunch of them, let alone, even 1 or 2, will turn it on and play great. None whatsoever. And yet they're going to keep telling us that company line.
Okay, I have 3 comments to that, at least, maybe like 10. Number 1, you know this. Press conferences are pointless.
Oh, God.
Public interviews are pointless at this point. Yeah. Everyone has gotten so good at, it's not even just PR, it's just spin. Yeah. That, when Stephen Vogt says, I don't know, I think I kind of included in an article yesterday just to give him a voice. But when he says, as soon as we start changing things, that means we don't believe. We haven't changed a thing. We believe in this group. We're going to turn it around. That doesn't mean anything, right? No. Of course he's going to say that. What's he going to say? We stink. We don't have any talent. I wish the front office and ownership would give me more to work with. No, he's not going to say that. Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff aren't going to get up to a podium or on the radio and say, we're terrible and we should be fired. And no, we can't develop hitters. No, they're not going to say any of that. So you have to understand going in what you hear publicly, really, that doesn't matter.
No,
it honestly doesn't matter.
No.
Honestly, like I think people have gripes with stories that have anonymous sources and stuff, but that's when you're actually getting candor.
That's
usually,
true.
If you trust the reporter, those are the sources that are telling you the truth. I was going to give you the team's June stats. And I was looking at their slash line for June, and then I looked at their slash line for the season, and I realized it's not that different.
No, I mean, it's worse.
It's worse, but even at their, as you alluded to, even at their best this season, they're not a good offense.
No.
So that's why we're going to turn it around. We believe in this group. It's come on. Everyone sees through that because this group at its best is still below average. And for the season, the team as a whole is hitting 226 with a 298 on base and a 366 slugging percentage, which is like almost an identical slash line to Gabriel Arias. So you are essentially trotting out 9 Gabriel Ariases every single night. And obviously Jose Ramirez is way better than Gabriel Arias. And you have to think about how much worse one of your Gabriel Arias is than Gabriel Arias to offset Jose Ramirez's brilliance. So no one's buying that they're magically going to turn into an elite offense. No one's buying that they're magically going to turn into a league average offense because they haven't done that. And the one thing that I continue to fall back upon is whether it's referencing guards ball, which is dead and buried. This team doesn't play that style. They're so sloppy. They don't hustle and go first to third and put the ball in play and cause havoc. Stephen Vogt saying, well, we just didn't look like ourselves out there tonight. Chris Antonetti saying, we're going to turn it around. We believe in this group. All of that leads me to believe that they are clinging to a version of this team that does not exist. This is not 2024. Teams change year to year. Players change. You know this, Bull. It's really hard to be a good baseball player year after year after year. It's harder when you lean on young, unproven people or a 39-year-old first baseman or guys who have never done it before, and you're just expecting them to repeat what you did last year. You got to the doorstep of the World Series. It's one thing. I'm still like, you could convince me the Naylor trade makes sense because Sacconi's good and you have him for a long time. You can convince me the Jimenez trade makes sense because you got Ortiz and he's good and you'll have him for a long time. That's fine. But in the context of where they were on the timeline, which is about like 3 wins away from the World Series, and they were in that Yankees series. Like, don't get me like,
of course.
The difference was the Yankees could hit home runs and the Guardians could not. The Guardians did nothing to address the most glaring deficiency they had of the lineup. And now we sit here on June 30th and they're acting surprised, like, well, we'll turn it around. Like, this isn't us. It's you. It's you. It's been you all season. It wasn't just you in June. This is who you are.
No, you're 100% correct. And not only did they not address their biggest weakness, they weakened it with the Naylor trade. And I agree with you. In the end, if they had replaced Josh Naylor, if they had signed somebody or traded for somebody else that had equal or more power to Josh Naylor, okay, I could live with that because you made that trade. But they didn't do that. They hoped that Carlos Santana had one more year because they're obsessed with bringing back their old players. And they know that when they bring back their old players, that fans get nostalgic for something like that, right? So fans will give them a little bit of a pass. But here's the interesting thing, Zach, is that, and you know this well, so when it comes to baseball in Cleveland, there is the group of fans that are the super diehards. They live and die with baseball every minute. Tends to be a little bit of an older fan base, but there are some in the younger group. There are people that watch your podcast with TJ. They watch this podcast here, And because there's not a lot of good baseball coverage in this town, they're reading your article every day. And so those people who are obsessed with it, that's one group. And then you have obviously a very big group of casual fans. They're Guardians fans, certainly. They're paying attention to how they're doing, but they're not locked in game to game unless the team's playing very well or there's a big story or something like that. Now, those fans quickly get annoyed at the team when they're not playing well. That's nothing unusual. But the diehard Guardians fan base has been over the top with patience, I believe, for Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff, the front office, and this team in general. That group does not rip this team very often. And I have seen a frustration level from that group of fans. And I'm sure you talk to that group because they're reaching out. That group of fans is more pissed off than I have ever seen them in my entire time covering this team, because not only are they bad right now, not only did they not follow up a deep playoff run by getting any better.
It's self-inflicted.
Yes, right. It's self-inflicted, and it feels like they've screwed up it used to just be you could just blame the owner. He doesn't spend enough, doesn't spend enough. But the front office has not done a good job the last few years. And now the length of time in which they have not been able to develop many offensive players is so long. We've seen so many top prospects bust or not do anything until they went somewhere else that I think it's finally boiled over to the diehard fan base. And that is not a great place for the Guardians to be.
So I will try to keep this succinct because you're right. There are so many people who deserve blame or so many areas of the organization. It's not, like I can't single out, we could single out Bo Naylor for not just progressing the way we had hoped, but maybe this is just who he is, right? And that's one guy. Why single him out when everybody outside of Ramirez and Kwan and maybe Manzardo just doesn't seem like they can cut it, right?
No.
And who chose those players to carry this lineup? The front office.
Yeah.
With some impact from ownership here. I understand the organizational approach. And, Jerry Dipoto said this out loud. He's the Mariners president, and he got crushed for it.
Yeah.
And I think he got crushed for it because you're not supposed to admit this, but the way baseball works now, you've got 3 wild cards. Like, we're going to yell here for a half hour and be frustrated. And it's obviously justified. And know that, like, deep down, I still think the Guardians can get a wild card here. Like, it's very conceivable that their offense actually gets better as the season goes because they finally stop the definition of insanity and actually change some things, and it works out for them, and the pitching trends in the right direction, and they wind up the 3rd wild card or whatever. And, who knows? It's possible. But what I'm saying is that a lot of teams now in their situation, the teams that aren't the Dodgers, that aren't the Yankees and the Mets, they don't care about winning 105 games. They care about just getting in and hoping that the fact that a lot of times it's like a different style of baseball and the old catching lightning in a bottle and getting hot at the right time, those things that are easier if your team is really good, right? Like,
Sure.
There's a better chance that Dodgers are going to get hot at the right time than the Guardians are, right? But a lot of these teams say, well, we can't compete financially with those huge markets, so we're just going to try to get into the playoffs and then see what happens. And if we can get into the playoffs as many years as possible, maybe we'll finally win one. I understand that line of thinking. It's the way the Brewers operate, the Rays, the Guardians, a lot of teams. And it's also hard to do too, right? Like, the Pirates would love to do that. They can't. The Rockies would love to do that. The Marlins, they just haven't been able to. So from the Guardians' perspective, though, to even do that, you have to develop. We know they're not going to spend. So that puts a lot of pressure on the organization to develop. And they've developed pitching, of course, but they have not learned how to develop hitting. And this is not a new problem. And no one's held accountable. That's the other thing. Does anyone ever get fired?
Nobody.
No. Do they change anything? Do they ever make a huge splash of a hire from the outside to, like, be the architect of their hitting development pipeline? No. Nothing changes. They changed some things. They tried contact hitters for a while. They tried just drafting an outfielder in the first round every year. And they've tried a bunch of things. They stockpiling middle infielders on the international market, and then none of them pan out. And so now you're left with a lineup that has 6 holes in it, and you're trying to patch it together. And we're talking about, hey, can they trade Class A to maybe fix a spot in the lineup? And it's like plugging one hole and by opening another. And it's just unbelievable that we're essentially talking about a glorified rebuilding or retooling year 8 months after they made the ALCS.
Yeah, and right now, I hear what you're saying. It's not impossible for them to grab the third wild card. I don't think they will. I just don't see it. But
also, it doesn't matter. Like that's the other
they're
thing.
Not going to win. Yeah,
they shouldn't get a pass for. They shouldn't get a pass for that if they make it. And ownership should show some killer instinct. I've ranted about this so many times, and I almost apologize because I keep coming back to it. But if I were the owner of a team and I knew my timeline was coming to an end and I was going to transfer power in the near future, I would do everything I could to go out on top, to be the one who ended the drought, to make sure that fans had a positive thought of my family, to leave them with that. Instead of, fans are probably not, for the most part, whether fair or not, going to remember the Dolans fondly in this town if this is how this thing ends. And yet there's no killer instinct. There's no like passion or will to go above and beyond, or to be flexible enough, or to demand change or improvement. Just nothing.
No, and in fact, most fans in this town, if you say, who do you like more, Dolan or Haslam, they'll tell you Haslam. That's how crazy it is, right? Because all they know is Haslam's spending. So he's trying. And Dolan's not. And you're right. I don't understand. Like, a lot of excuses will be made by some people that, well, Dolan doesn't have the money that some of the owners have. First of all, how do you know how much money he has?
If you don't have the money,
get out.
Why do you own the team?
It's ridiculous. That's it.
No,
if you don't have the money, get out.
No one is like, you've owned the team. They've had the longest tenure of any owner in team history. No one's like forcing you to do this.
That's right.
You're not a prisoner.
No. If you can't afford to get out, if not spend money, I don't understand. I mean, maybe that's why I'm part of the reason why I'm not a billionaire, is that if I were a billionaire and owned a baseball team, I would spend everything I had to. All that would matter to me would be winning a championship. Because at any time I could sell my franchise and get all my money back and plus more. So I don't understand. At the moment Dolan completely sells the team, he's fine financially, more than ridiculously fine. So it's crazy. Dolan doesn't care about winning, and some of the owners are the same and only care about winning to a certain point. It's not a priority. And the front office, the priority is to just keep players as long as possible. I'm sick of hearing every time Mike and Chris do an interview now, they make the point of saying we're a small market team. We're a small market team. I mean, just give me a break. It's such a bullshit excuse, because nobody's, again, I've said it a million times, we're not asking you to spend like the Yankees and the Cubs. We're asking you to spend like the Brewers and the Cardinals. And that's not unreasonable. And nobody can convince me otherwise that it's not unreasonable for them to spend like the Brewers and the Cardinals. And you can say, well, okay, the Brewers haven't won a World Series. They haven't done everything right. And that's fair. They haven't. They go to the playoffs a lot. They haven't won the World Series. But the Cardinals have. I know it's been a little bit now with the Cardinals, but still, like, you can't just keep doing the exact
14 years thing for the Cardinals. Oh, the horror.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, in addition to the media route, Andre Knott went on ESPN and said, well, just because the guys are putting up big numbers in the majors, in the AAA, doesn't mean they're going to do it in the majors, and they're going to struggle in the majors. A lot of guys struggle. Okay, so then I guess the plan is to never call anybody up if they're going to struggle. Let's never call anybody up for the minors. Let's stick with the same team. Let's be the Colorado Rockies, who have had the same shit pitching staff for 8 years, and let's just be with that. Let's just throw Gabriel Arias and one stiff after the next. We can call up all these other guys. Well, Big Christmas is hitting well at AAA, and this guy. But those guys got their chances. Why not call up the guys that the majority of people think are going to actually be good? I mean, they're and the Chase the Lauder thing. I heard Antonetti saying, well, I mean, he's got to show he can play 5 days a week. And again, why can't he do that at the majors? If he can't play 5 days a week, then only play him 3 days a week. I don't know what to tell you. Put him in. Let's see what he's got. Let's see what CJ Kafis has got. If they suck, you send them back, and then you'll bring them back. Now they're closer to that second turn when they're supposedly going to be good. And Andre, not saying 90% of players struggle. That's not genuine. That's not. I don't know what the number is. There's no way it's 90%. I mean, we as an organization, everybody that works for the team carries water for the franchise. The whole thing's ridiculous.
So should Chase DeLauder just buy a house in Columbus with a 30-year mortgage and just, never call up prospects because they might struggle? What? Yeah. So I had some long conversations with people with the team over the weekend about this and just trying to refute every excuse they made. The one thing that I will accept is that in the minors, because they said, DeLauder had some instances during this period of 6 weeks where he's been back playing now, where, he'd play a couple days in a row and his body would just be crazy sore just because he's never stayed healthy long enough to build up the stamina. Right. And so in the minors, you can just give him a day off and it's not a big deal. Or the big one, because it's a controlled environment. Yeah. You can just pull him in the 6th inning and it doesn't matter. Right. And they didn't want to get to a point in the majors where you have to do that and you have to coddle this kid. And one point made was, Jose Ramirez gets drilled in the arm the other day. Yeah. And he's begging to be in the lineup the next day while you have this 23-year-old who you're like, have training wheels on. I get that to an extent. Also, do I need to read the team slash line again of 226, 298, 366? I think Chase DeLauder would help that even if he struggles. Yeah. You're looking for below average would be an improvement. Yes. They have either the 28th, 29th, or 30th ranked production at catcher, shortstop, center field, and right field. They are amazing. The worst of the worst at 4 of the 9 positions. That's not to say that the other 5 positions are the best of the best. They're not. Right. But Chase DeLauder should be up. And it doesn't matter if you have to coddle him. It doesn't matter if you have to play against some lefties this week. It doesn't none of this matters. And stop with this. And Zach, stop with this lefty righty. Manzardo, every day. He can't play the field. He had 2. I get it. He was awful for a couple of days in the field. Fine. Okay. I don't care. Bull. I want his bat in the lineup. That was an anomaly. I don't think he's that bad defensively. He hasn't played it a lot because they've been DHing him all the time. And so by the way, I'm just realizing now that our Twitter logos and names are under the wrong picture. Did you notice that? Oh, yeah. I knew I was on the wrong side.
Yeah, it looked right. That's because I put you in the room before I put myself back in the room because I had left the room. But anyway, not a big deal. All right, let's just do.
Well, can I just? You brought up the platoons, and I just wanted to say, they use platoons more than any other team in the league. By miles. The average team has the platoon advantage, which means you're facing the opposite-handed pitcher, which generally is a benefit, but not always. And it depends on the hitter, and it depends on the pitcher. The league average team has the platoon advantage 54% of the time. The Guardians are at 77%. The second-ranked team's at 68%. So if you think this offense stinks, that's while having the advantage way more than everybody else, which means maybe it doesn't matter that much with the hitters you have. Maybe you should just play the hitters who are hitting.
Yeah. I mean, Kyle Manzardo is the only, and I know he's been up and down, and although he seems to have picked it up here lately, he's clearly their 3rd best offensive player right now, and there's no reason whatsoever to ever sit him. I don't care. I want to play against Tarek Skubal. I want to play against every lefty. I don't care. I want to play in every game the rest of the season, and I want to see DeLauder, Kafis, Manzardo, Ramirez, and Kwan. I want those 5 guys in the lineup every single day, and I don't care who loses at bats or anything. I don't give a rat's ass about any of it. Figure it out. The rest of the spots and by the way, that still leaves you at holes. Even if you call up Kafis and DeLauder, that's how bad the lineup is.
I would add Juan Brito to the mix in a couple weeks too.
Let's go. Add him too. Anybody to look at different players that could give you something, some production, some power.
But do you hear what you're yelling about right now? This is a team that was in the ALCS 8 months ago.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
That's why people are frustrated.
Yeah. All right, let's do some commercials here. Quick breaks here. Epicor, folks. Every team knows the value of hard work, of taking pride in what you build, and practicing every detail to get the best results. But no one player, no matter how amazing, can do it all alone. Working together makes getting the win easier. At Epicor, the all-stars are the hardworking manufacturers and distributors who create and deliver the things we all need, from aerospace to electrical to medical devices. Epicor ERP solutions are created by industry experts to help make every day easier. Seeing your whole supply chain is easier. Managing logistics is easier. Responding to price changes is easier. From small businesses with big dreams to growing enterprises with global vision, we'll equip you with the right tools to move forward, think ahead, and lead the way. Because the clock ticks down, as the clock ticks down, you need to make the most of every hardworking minute. Easier doesn't cut corners. Easier finds the lane. Discover your success at www.easierwithepicor.com. That's easierwithepicor.com. Zach, what's going on at FanDuel?
Yeah, Bull. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action, so why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I'm gonna avoid the low-hanging fruit of the Guardians offense and how, there's some bets you can make there.
Oh, boy.
I'm also thinking, training camp's like a month away, and you've got the NFL win totals out there. Maybe you think the Browns will soar past 4.5. I would take every Saints under I could get my hands on. There's a lot you can do right now, even though it's summer, which is usually the quietest part of the sports calendar. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get started.
All right, there you go. Let's get some fan comments here. Okay. Soul uniform. I'm starting to think it's also a front office issue as well, despite how awful the Dolans are. A lot of people talking about how our names are switched wrong. Yes, thank you. I can't fix it during the show. I apologize. Clint Francisco says, I believe the media always gives the Guardians a dole in the past, so this is refreshing. Imagine the nonstop attack if the Browns played this way. Now, to be fair, the Guardians are around 500. The Browns have rarely been around 500. So the Browns play this way pretty much every year, worse than this.
Yeah, it's no one really covers the Guardians or the Cavs. That's not to slight people who provide analysis, but I'm just talking about like the media contingent that's around the team every single day, compared to what it was even like 10 years ago is completely different.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's so different, the landscape, and where you get your analysis or your coverage has changed. And I think everybody can kind of find, there's tons of fans have podcasts and their own websites or just informative Twitter feeds now, that everything's kind of changed. And so you sort of just tune into what you want and you can find your niche. And so the one thing, like the Browns contingent has stayed the same. Mm-hmm. It's the same people covering that team who were covering it when they came back in 99.
Yeah.
But you look around the Guardians press box, there's like a handful of reporters every day. On the road, there's 3 of us max on a road trip. So it's very different. I hear that, and it's like, I think part of that is just the quantity of people.
Yeah, and if you don't cover the team closely, like most of the media members in this town, you don't know the intricacies of what's fair to criticize and what not. So you're careful to criticize because it's easy to just say the owner's cheap, which he is, and not criticize anything else. I don't think the owner's gotten a pass by people that cover, the small amount of people that actually pay attention to this team. Certainly not in the last couple of years. And I think the front office has gotten a pass 100%. This is the first year I feel like I've been very critical of the front office. And I think they've lived off their reputation from the the World Series year and around those years. And they've been living off that for a while since COVID, because they have gotten a lot more wrong than right in recent years. And yet it feels like no matter what, they can't get fired.
Well, that's the thing. Nothing ever,
yeah,
nothing changes.
Okay. The Guardians got swept by the Cardinals. The Pirates swept the Mets. What kind of twisted alternative reality are we living in? I don't think the Guardians getting swept is the same level of the Pirates getting swept. The Pirates sweeping the Mets. Pirates,
by the way, have a better run differential than the Guardians.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That is just unbelievable. Let's see. Nolan says, are we ready to have a conversation about the front office being on the hot seat? Yeah, I think so. I think they should be at this point. I said, I'm willing to give them one more off season. But if they're playing like this and nothing's changed next year, and the free agent moves they have made, you can't keep wasting free agent dollars on Austin Hedges as your backup quarterback. I've been banging this drum forever. It's so stupid. My man Jay Crawford came up with this insane conspiracy theory last year that somehow Austin Hedges, leads to winning because he was on that Rangers team that went to the World Series, and then he was on the Guardians again the next year, and they went back to the playoffs. Obviously, that was complete coincidence. He has nothing to do with winning. I'm not saying he's not a great guy in the locker room. I'm not paying. If you have a low payroll, you can't afford to spend 1/20th of that payroll on the worst player in baseball.
So I think it's magnified because Bo Naylor has not emerged as a catcher that you're excited to write his name down in the lineup 6 days a week, right? If Austin Hedges is backing up Cal Raleigh, you're fine. But when he's backing up a guy hitting 168, it's magnified. I think, it's not even. You spent $7 million on Paul Sewald, $4.5 million on Jacob Junis, $12 million on Carlos Santana. That is the element of this that I can't separate from ownership, because when you're shopping in the, when you were at Blockbuster back in the day and they had the bin at the front that had like movies you can get for 99 cents or whatever, like you're not going to find The Godfather in there, right? So you're dealing with what you can get. The issue to me is this approach where you're just trying to win enough to make the playoffs and get hot every year. You better be damn good at developing prospects, or be willing to trade prospects for bona fide major leaguers, and they've done neither.
Right.
They've sat on their hands and said, well, we're just going to lean on these prospects and they'll carry us, and none of them develop. And you could have traded. That's like, I think when we were yelling all winter and saying, the Naylor trade, the Jimenez trade, like that's fine to bolster your pitching staff, but then go trade prospects for bona fide hitters. Yeah. And they didn't do that. No. Or keep the guys you had, keep Naylor, and trade for a Slade Ciccone type of pitcher.
Yeah.
By using prospects.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. Nope. So they're leaning on the prospects, and the prospects haven't panned out. They haven't panned out for more than a decade.
And by the way, even shopping at the bargain bin or the semi-bargain bin, you could have signed, instead of those guys you signed, you could have spent roughly the same amount of money, and you could have signed my guy Gleyber Torres. You could have signed Carson Kelly. You could have signed Brad Keller, who's now the setup man for the Cubs. You could have brought back
We'll see Matthew Boyd on Tuesday.
Yes, you could have signed Drew Pomerantz, the former Guardian, who's not given up a run this season or given up one run. Like, there's other guys that why are there bargain basement guys that are hitting for other teams? I know Gleyber Torres was a little more than bargain basement, but he got paid similar to what Carlos Santana got paid.
And again, when you're on the precipice of the freaking World Series, that's the time to get out of your comfort zone and make the moves necessary to capitalize on that, to take the next step.
100%. And they refuse to do that.
Jose Ramirez turns 33 in September, by the way.
How many great years does he have left? I don't know. They did it in 2017. We were all thrilled. They went to the World Series. It was a heartbreaking loss. They go out and spend money on Edwin Encarnacion. We were all thrilled. We were so excited. Look at this. They followed it up, And it's just never been the same since.
And they got terrified.
Yep.
Because they got knocked out in the first round. And they'll still point to the fact that in 2016, they had a worse roster and they almost won the World Series. So to them, that means there's no need to like go all in or like really stack your roster when you could just sneak in and maybe get hot. Yeah, maybe. Been saying that for 8 decades.
Right. And it's not going to happen. Typical gamer. Last hitters this team developed were Michael Brantley and Francisco Lindor. Well, Jose Ramirez and Quan, I guess. But Lindor is the only top prospect that's panned out for the Guardians in 10 years. I mean, it's crazy. Typical gamer. Cleveland media blows. They always focus on the garbage Browns. Don't even bat an eye with the Cavs and Guardians. So, well, don't lump us in with that. We talk about other teams. That's unfair, typical gamer, to put everybody in one category. Mr. Chairman of the Board, if the team doesn't improve very soon, they should start selecting random fans in attendance to play for the team and maybe bring back 10-cent beer night to make it worthwhile to watch the team.
10-cent beer night would be fun.
Yeah. At least you'd be drunk for this awfulness.
I'd take off that day.
1980 rules. Can hear the frustration in Zach's voice. Yes, think about Jose. Yeah. And they've done nothing with the great savings they've gotten from him. It's so frustrating, and I don't understand, why is this taking 10 years to change ownership? Like what is happening here?
Because
the minority owner, Blitzer is loaded way more.
Yeah, they have. There are some terms in place. I don't want to share too much because I've been digging on this.
Yeah. All right.
The big thing here, like the CBA is going to be really interesting. Like pretty much everybody in baseball thinks there's going to be a work stoppage after next season and has no idea what the landscape of revenue sharing, TV, rules to get players paid quicker, what any of that's going to look like, what impact will it have on the market size issue.
Right. If it doesn't kill the sport by not playing for a full year or whatever it is.
Yeah.
All right, we got to wrap up. Let me talk about Monarch Money here, folks. Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Surprising insights. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year with Monarch Money. All right, Zach, time for final thoughts. As the Guardians will head on the road now, and they have a 3-game series at Wrigley Field starting tomorrow, and then that's it, and they come right back home for a 3-game series with the Tigers, and then they go on the road for 3 in Houston. Now the Cubs aren't playing as well as they were earlier, but obviously they're still very good in 13 games over 500. Detroit and Houston are playing great, so the Guardians, who are already 2 games under 500, have 9 very tough games in a row, and 6 of those 9 are on the road.
Is Monarch Money paying for this extra?
No, we're moving on from Monarch Money. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I had thoughts earlier in the season of like we could do a show from Wrigley Field this week. It's like the Bowl. You got Guardians and Cubs. Maybe both will be leading their divisions, and now it's like, can the Guardians even survive this stretch? Matthew Boyd in game 1 is going to be a fun storyline here.
Yeah.
I think everyone's just waiting on Chase DeLauter, which is unfair to Chase DeLauter, by the way. Like, good luck, kid, whenever you get called up.
Yeah.
Everyone's counting on you to be the savior. That's a tough, Wrigley is a tough place to play. You got 3 night games.
Yeah.
And you have the night game, and I know it's not a long flight back from Chicago, but you're going to come back and then, the Tigers are waiting for you at Progressive Field. You're going to have to face Tarek Skubal this weekend. So it looks bleak. I don't know. Maybe the calendar flipping to July will magically remedy everything.
I mean, you got to face So Matthew Boyd's been fantastic. Shota Imanaga just came off the injured list and pitched a shutout. Cade Horton's a rookie. He has struggled. Casey Mize has been very good. We know what Scooble is. Flaherty's a good veteran. Then they face Hunter Brown in Houston, who's been phenomenal. They face a rookie in Walters. McCullers has been up and down. I mean, you're not only facing 3 good teams, you're facing a lot of good pitchers, including, Brown and Scooble, who are 2 of the, Scooble's the best pitcher in baseball. Brown's top 10 right now. I don't think Imanaga Imanaga and Boyd are probably 2 of the top 20. So 25. I mean, it's a tough stretch. I mean, they're already struggling to hit, and you haven't faced this kind of pitching.
Yeah, it's brutal. And so I don't know. I'm just, I don't know, some Stan's Donuts maybe to start the day, and then I don't know.
When are you flying to Chicago?
Tomorrow morning.
Okay, have fun. We got to run, folks.
Hey, Ricky's great. I mean,
it is.
I know fans are. Jason Kipnis will actually be on the marquee broadcast for the Cubs, so that'll be. He was doing Cleveland he did Guardians last week, and he'll be doing Cubs this week. So,
interesting. Is he the analyst for the game? Is DeShays on vacation or something?
I think he's doing like pre and post.
Studio. Yeah,
and some other stuff. But
I love DeShays. I think he's one of the best analysts in baseball. I don't know how often you watch the Cubs broadcast, but I'm a big
not as often as you, man.
Yeah.
even though today I'm Adam the Bull.
There you go. That's it. We switched up today. All right, folks. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll be back next Monday right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian Show.